Is The Crow really as bad as they say it is? One of the most anticipated films of 2024 was The Crow, which attempted to breathe new life into an almost forgotten franchise. The original film, called The Crow, released in 1994, is to this day considered one of the foundations of modern superhero movies, and is considered a cult film for many people. Over time, the gothic aesthetic of this film ended up influencing other iconic films such as Dark City and The Matrix. But what went wrong with The Crow 2024, and why has it generated so much backlash from fans, both old and new? In this video, we're going to analyze The Crow 2024 and offer our full review of this movie. And remember, if you enjoy watching content about your favorite series and movies, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Welcome to the Oasis Geek. The new movie The Crow begins by showing us the story of Eric and Shelley, young people who meet in a rehabilitation center, and whose story becomes a tragedy of love. This is perhaps the first change in tone between the first film and the current one. The original film focused on the revenge aspect and the Crow's suffering after losing his girlfriend. But in this film, Eric and Shelley's love is the foundation, turning the film into a romantic action. This in itself is not necessarily a problem. Many films have achieved success by blending genres, such as Twilight, which connected deeply with its audience through its focus on romance and action. However, The Crow 2024 was touted as the revival of an iconic dark franchise, and the expectation was a return to its gothic roots, not a romantic reinvention, or at least that's how many people picked up from it. The trailers for The Crow 2024 focused on special effects and action scenes, promising a return to the dark, gothic style that made the original film famous. However, when people saw the film, they were met with something different, which caused a disconnect between what was expected and what was delivered. This was one of the first problems that caused the decline of the film. The situation is similar to what happened with The Amazing Spider-Man. In that film, an attempt was made to mix romance with superheroes, but that combination was not well received, resulting in the cancellation of Andrew Garfield's project as Spider-Man. Audiences were expecting a movie more focused on superhero action and not romance, which led to fan disappointment. However, we saw how Spider-Man managed to bounce back by going back to its roots, focusing on what really connected with the audience. This shows us that while the promotion of a movie can be misguided, if the character and story are strong, they can overcome those mistakes. A good story and well-developed characters are what really matter for the success of a franchise, beyond any marketing strategy. In the case of The Crow 2024, misguided promotion hurt the perception of the film, but it also highlights the importance of having a clear focus from the beginning. In the end, it is good stories and characters that ensure that a franchise can be sustained over time, even if it gets off to a bad start. However, this leads us to an even deeper problem in the film. Eric's character had no character development. We only see a transition and a type of sacrifice, but we never really understand what the extent of his powers are, how he learned to use them, or what is really going on. In the original The Crow movie, these elements are not fully explained, but the elements maintain a consistency. This film brings too many questions to the table, but not enough answers. The gothic aesthetic that made the original The Crow film famous in 1994, with its high contrasts and bleak atmospheres, was a major influence on many films that came later, such as Dark City and The Matrix. However, in The Crow 2024, although in some scenes an attempt was made to recapture that style, I feel it was not used effectively. In the original film, the gothic aesthetic was not only a visual aspect, but also played a key role in the story, underlining the protagonist's pain and revenge. In the new version, this aesthetic appears only superficially, without achieving the same impact or coherence. This means that the overall atmosphere of the film does not have the same visual weight that made the first installment memorable. If we compare the two films, it is clear that the original is still superior, both visually and in its storytelling. The first film built a dark and brooding world effectively, using its visual style to give the story more depth. In contrast, The Crow 2024 seems to focus more on modern special effects, but without capturing the visual essence that made the original a cult film. Now then, let's move on to the positives. The introduction of a villain capable of manipulating people's will and exposing their worst fears was something that I quite liked and provoked fear. This element added mysticism to the Crow universe, sparking a genuine interest in me to further explore this dark world. The film could have worked as a solid starting point for a new saga, as long as it quickly deviates from the romantic approach and recaptures the somber and philosophical tone that characterized the original, something that was sadly lost in this installment. However, the biggest flaw lies in the ending. The protagonist's sacrifice, exchanging his life for that of his girlfriend, leaves us with a series of unanswered questions and narrative paradoxes. It also raises serious doubts about the logic of the story, such as the fact that his girlfriend could now be seen as a suspect in Eric's death, which further complicates the plot. It wasn't entirely clear how she was resurrected either. Perhaps it was intentional to leave it ambiguous for a second installment, although many sources claim that if there are plans for a sequel, they must already be on hold. Currently, the film is facing an avalanche of criticism, and its future in terms of continuity within the cinematic universe is in question. In my opinion, this universe has a lot of potential to explore, but to do it properly, it needs to be in the hands of writers capable of expanding it properly and keeping it within the genre that made it iconic. The Crow still has a lot to offer, and the actor could reprise the character with greater depth. This universe deserves to be explored further, but only if guided by the right talent. That being said, with this film being the reintroduction of the Crow for a new generation, there's a chance that we won't see a sequel, and that this was the last attempt to revive the franchise. It would be unfortunate, but sometimes it's better to allow a story to end with dignity than risk it being dragged out past its time, becoming a shadow of its former self. I think it's a movie that will give a lot to talk about and generate a lot of emotions, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to find out if you liked it or not, and if it really lived up to the expectations you had for this movie. But tell me, what do you think about all this? Did you see The Crow movie? And did you like it? Share your opinion in the comments. And for more videos of your favorite series and movies, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on The Oasis Geek.